Welcome back. We are so excited that you have returned back to the school year. I know it's January 3rd and we were supposed to all be together in person, but unfortunately, due to Omicron variant and so many other things, we thought it'd be safer at this point to allow you to go to your schools so we can be able to mitigate a little bit better, to keep some distancing as you can be able to still have a great learning environment today. So just wanted to say to you all, welcome back. We hope that you had a well-deserved break. I know that the last semester we worked really, really hard, putting a lot of things in place and continuing to work and support all of our students across the entire parish. And so I just want to say welcome back, and we're just thankful that you've been able to come back and come back safely. I hope you were able to get some rest and also go out and really just take some time for yourself. Hopefully you were not working during the break. I know myself, I try my best to avoid doing too much work during the break so I could take some time with my own family, my wife and my daughter, my kids and stuff. So but I just wanted to just touch on a few things. First, let's talk a little bit about COVID. I just want to give you some COVID updates. The governor spoke last week, right before New Year's, to talk about some more recommendations for schools. As you may already know, I've required that masks will continue to be worn throughout the time. And although I wanted to do an optional approach to masks coming back, unfortunately, with the surge of the COVID variant, it has been hard to do that. And I know sometimes some people are excited about that, some are not. But as you know, I have to keep families, the safety of families, students, and staff first. And so we will continue to do that until the end of January, where we'll reevaluate with our Health Advisory Commission on whether it's a good time for us to begin to be a little more lax on that rule. I do want to also share with you around just a lot of our COVID protocols that we've lived through this before. And so, this variant, although it's a little more infectious, it's a little bit different. And I'll allow Stacey Dupree and team to come on shortly to explain this to you. But as you know, we have to continue to wear a mask and also continue to require that everyone washes their hands and also follow some of the same sets of protocols, at least until we're able to get through this portion. From what we're hearing, the spike would be continuing through this point in the holidays, and hopefully it begins to die down. But I'll let Stacey talk a little bit more about that. But I just wanted you to hear, at least from me, that's really important. Even myself, my wife, my daughter, we have also had COVID, and just been getting through it myself. And it is something, I tell you, it's just an experience, and just really glad from a health perspective that my family's been able to get through healthy with that. I don't know if people are aware, but my own family, I've had a lot of family members have died from this. And so we are something that we take really seriously, and we just want to make sure that our staff and our students and everyone we're putting the best possible things in place to make sure that safety is happening. So I'm going to go ahead and allow Stacey Dupree, our chief of student support, to come on and talk to us a little bit about some of our protocols and just a few things that we're going to do as we kind of mitigate through at least up through January, and then provide more information from there. Stacey?
Thank you, Dr. Narcisse, for giving me the opportunity to speak. As Dr. Narcisse mentioned, we are in the beginning of a spike of COVID, and our current variant is more transmissible than other variants in the past. So we're going to continue to follow the CDC and LDH recommendations for mitigation measures. So one of the things that Dr. Narcisse mentioned was in the school setting, we're going to continue to wear masks. So all staff and students in grades K through 12 are required to wear a mask in the school setting in all elements of the school. In addition to this, we highly recommend pre-K students to wear masks. Although it's optional, we would like to encourage those parents and staff members to encourage parents in pre-K to wear masks. However, on the bus, all students are required to wear a mask by a presidential mandate. So this is something that's important. All students wear masks on the bus. In addition to this, we're going to continue to physical distance in both inside and outside the classroom in all appropriate environments, which includes the cafeteria and environments where students are eating. We will have a continuation of increased cleaning and sanitation measures in all schools, in all classrooms, and all facilities throughout the district. We're also going to continue to adhere to recommended hand washing and cleaning guidelines. And very important, we will continue to have weekly mandatory COVID-19 testing for all staff in all school sites and work sites. This is very important because this helps bring down the rate of COVID in our school settings. In addition to this, we will continue to offer COVID testing weekly at school sites to staff and students. So any parent and or guardian who would like for their child to be tested weekly, we have information where you could go to our district website under the COVID reopening guidance or under the Department of Health Services under our website where you can sign up for your child to be tested weekly. These tests are confidential and they go directly to your email. In addition to this, staff members who are tested weekly, if they have a medical condition in which they cannot test, they can contact the Office of Human Resources to apply for a waiver, and that can be found on Frontline. In addition to this, Dr. Narcisse, as you said, the governor and his staff did give different guidelines for self-isolation and self-quarantine. We have received interim guidelines from the Louisiana Department of Health, and we have placed that on the district's website under the safe opening icon, and our guidance will be in place when students return to school. So I look forward to seeing everybody back at school. And if you have any questions, of course, you can contact the COVID hotline, and you can find that number on the district website. Thank you, Dr. Narcisse.
Thank you, Stacy, and we appreciate your leadership in guiding us through these times with COVID and your team. As many people don't know, it takes an entire team to do this work, not just one individual. Even myself, I tell folks I may be the superintendent, but it takes an entire village, and we appreciate that team working through day and night, even through the holidays, to try to make sure that it keeps our staff and family and our community and children safe throughout these times. I'm also excited about the expansion that we've done with early childhood. As many of you may or may not know, one of the things that have been very challenging for us is that we haven't talked about trying to start kids as early as possible. We are one of the few districts in the country where we're not reaching out to all of our kids, and we are pushing very hard where we can create more 3-year-old seats, 4-year-old seats, and even begin to educate children from the ages 1 and 2. I am excited that we've opened up more expansion seats to kids across the city. Kudos to the early childhood and pre-K team that's led under Shanoa Webb, where we've now are over 5,000 children are in early childhood seats across our system. I know some of these things at times for people sound controversial, but I tell folks, if you begin to educate kids as early as possible, it will help them through their pipeline of doing the work. And there's much research that shows that. And I'm so excited that we're being the cutting edge in our state, trying to move that forward. So I hope to continue that support. And more importantly, shout out to all the pre-K teachers who are doing some of the greatest jobs right now around educating our kids. We'll be recognizing you as well in terms of growth for children when we look at how kids are performing on the goals. And so just want to make sure that we highlight that component as well. So I want to go to transition a little bit because I want to talk about things that I'm really excited about looking forward to. So let's talk a little bit about where we are. Currently, right now, there's a lot of great things going on in our school district. One, for example, we've really been focused on improving on literacy. You're going to be hearing shortly around what we call the literacy blueprint that we've partnered with the mayor's office to begin to talk about literacy throughout our city. The reason we've talked about that is because, as you know, if children cannot read, write, or comprehend, they will not be able to perform well. One of the things I love about our community is that we are one of the most diverse communities in the state of Louisiana. We have all type of people, all colors, all race, gender, and class and religions, and all type of folks that attend our parish. And that's what makes us a strong community, coming from a very diverse space of great people coming with different voices and concerns around wanting to get right for education. But also at times, that's sometimes what also makes us fragile when we think about what is the best ways to kind of educate and help all of our children to feel connected to schools and connect with the work ahead of us. Here's some things that you have already accomplished and that you may not know. We've already begun to see early signs of literacy improvement when you look at our data from Achieve 3000, some of our current work that's happening with ANET, and all these components in terms of children reading and writing and doing better as we've done from last year. And we have data that will begin to show that. We've also created a scorecard where people can see individual schools' performance moving forward in the work that they're doing. One of the things that we're going to start to highlight, as I spoke with Andrew Okoski and the accountability team, starting next quarter, we're going to have an award we're going to give to schools called the Academic Growth Award. And these are awards that we will give to 2 elementaries, 2 middle, and 2 high schools per quarter that show the most growth by subgroup for kids that are improving on our benchmarks. And those benchmarks are going to be looking at our ELA math, ELA English, and even some of the DIBEL scores to look at how kids are moving in terms of growth. And that's each individual child by subgroup. As I tell folks, it's all about growth. It's not about just the end, but how much improvement has a child made from the time that they started with you all the way through the time that they matriculated through school. And so we'll be sharing with some great practices that we've seen schools that are doing with those schools, and kind of highlight some of those schools and recognizing those teachers and also some of those staff that are doing some great work. And we'll also ask them about what are the practices that they're doing. See, one of the things we talk a lot about in professional development is, I think I've told you, there's always 3 ways that I've learned in education that people have learned. One is through peer-to-peer. 2 is by job embedded, and then 3, doing something that's practical to what someone is actually doing. And when professional development is focused in those particular areas, people tend to learn a whole lot better than just this sit and get approach that is becoming very archaic right now in education. So our goal is to make sure that if there are practices that are highlighting across the district, we want to be able to take quality to scale and be able just to highlight some great work that's happening across our schools, because there's many schools, whether you're in North Baton Rouge, Mid-City, or South Baton Rouge, that's doing some really great work. And we want to be able to show that those practices and also highlight that. So expect that to come for us to begin to start highlighting those growth academic approach awards, where we're going to be able to highlight schools that are doing some great work moving forward. The second thing I wanted to talk about was also just us staying focused on our work with the curriculum. One of the things that we've been talking a lot is making sure that we are pacing ourselves in terms of academically, and making sure that kids are getting the amount that they need to be able to perform well. And the reason that the board has worked with ourselves, moving our strategic plan towards a benchmark approach where we quarterly benchmark and see growth, 3 to 5% growth per child, and that we've been showing on the scorecard, is because by doing it that way, you can now ensure that every child is growing. If you have a child that's doing really well, they can do even better. If you have a child that's middle of the road, then you can have them do good. And if you have a child that's at a lower level, we can have them do even better than that. And so everything around our work is about growth. And that part of growth should not be isolated to just one child, but to all children, and making sure that all children can be able to do the work well. The other approach we wanted to make sure that we highlight is that it's important for us that people know that the entire work does not only land on teachers' hands. It takes a team from teachers, social workers, guidance counselors, to school leaders, principals, APs, deans, the bus drivers. No matter what position you play, the assistants that are in the front of the offices, no matter what position you play in our school system, it is always important that it takes a team to do the work. When I came into the district, as I shared with a lot of folks, sometimes I saw that our district was very intervention only focused, which means that we thought about interventions before we started to think about first instruction, and also thought about individual performance of schools and kids, and not a collective approach. And I want to make sure that we continue to stay focused on knowing that everyone has to support everyone in doing this work, because everything cannot rely just on one person's hand to do this work. So a part of our work will be to continue to build on that. This is why we're looking at, when we look at supporting children in classrooms and in schools, you're going to hear starting this semester more and more about what we call a multi-tier system of support approach, which will be led by Stacy Dupree and Dr. Burrows, who's our head of MTSS, and also the work that's being supported by the Castle Foundation, who did a great job in looking at part of our assessing us around how we've done social emotional practices. One of the things that we've noticed is that practices are either happening or not happening in schools, and they're not a wide range of practices that happen collectively. So we're going to start to begin to work together to make sure we begin to build a system where we can talk about multiple sets of practices and also have a framework that we work from. The reason why we talk about a framework is because most systems do better when there's clear guidance, clear framework that helps them to move the work, and also make sure that there's a lot of professional development that's happening in those spaces. See, I always believe that you can't hold people accountable for things if they've never been developed in that space. And long gone for me are the days around that we have anecdotal data that we're talking about around how kids do well, but let's actual data that we can all see, look at, interpret in order to make great quantitative and qualitative analysis and support around what are the next moves that we should do in the work. And so I'm hopeful that we are going to start to continue to move towards that through this year in our work. Some of the other bright spots that we've had so far this semester is the board passed to open up Baton Rouge's first conservatory, where we'll have a 612 conservatory, which will open up. We're already starting to talk about the work in terms of architects and designs to be able to see who's going to come and build that for us. Where NOCA, which is in New Orleans, which was the only at that time large conservatory in the state, Baton Rouge will now have its own. Baton Rouge has a lot of talented people, and we believe that it's important for us to be able to continue to build on the music and the arts across our city, and this is just one of those approaches. We're also going to be increasing more partnerships with schools. As many of you know, we have a lot of great partners with our flagship university, LSU. We also have partnerships with our hospitals, Baton Rouge General, Our Lady of the Lakes, and also Ochsner. And so we're going to be doing more partnerships with them. We've moved to also talking about partnering with industry-based industries across our city, where we're going to be moving children to have more industry-based certifications. A lot of those things are things that are very high level that are coming down the pike, and we're really super excited about it. But one of the things I want you to get, if you get anything out of this, is my goal is to make sure that we can begin to focus on stability and for us to have an opportunity to go deep in what we're already doing. One of the big feedback that I've received, not only from transition report or hearing from whether it was teachers or social workers or guidance counselors or different folks, it's just some set of consistency. And we're going to continue to push very hard to make sure that we're not bringing too many new things into the system, but going deeper with what we're currently doing. I know in year one, it takes a lot because you're trying to put as much things into the soil to make sure that you can put some foundational pieces in place. But from there, then it's continued to expand to give teachers an opportunity to do more professional development. As you may know, we've invested a lot of dollars to do additional PD after school for teachers, because I believe that the more professional development you have, the better you can begin to serve your students in that work, as well as social workers, guidance counselors, paraprofessionals are in that space as well. The other part that's really huge that we're working on is trying to provide more access. If you've heard, we've talked a lot about our Pathways to Bright Future program. Wanted to give a shout out to Glen Oaks High School, who started off that work for us, where right now we gave students who were taking classes at their freshman year an opportunity to even try things such as dual enrollment classes and also other courses, and start to become exposed to industry work. And I know at times people were thinking that whether, am I going to take out AP or we're going to do this? We're not taking out anything. We're actually adding for more options. I tell folks it's important to expose children and to give them opportunities. We cannot be the gatekeepers that say who we think should have an opportunity and who should not have an opportunity. What's very clear when you look at a lot of our data, we are servicing some children that attend our school system have tremendous opportunity, and there's those that don't. This is not new information to us, but by design, our system has functioned that way for a while. And we're going to now, as I tell folks, open the floodgates to provide those opportunities because we cannot remediate children to success. We have to provide them with more. And students that are, we look at our pilot at Glen Oaks, those students, even though they may not have the highest performance in eighth grade or some of those classes, have shown us that if they're given the opportunity, they can be able to do well. And we think that that exposure will continue going into this school year. One of the things that we are going to do starting this fall in terms of a lot of our accountability check and working with schools is we're going to be reviewing every master schedule for every school across the city. With the master schedules, you will see we will be asking principals and their teams to come up to the office to review all of their master schedule, whether you're in elementary school, middle school, or high school. And we are going to also require that guidance counselors or school counselors are a part of that process. So they will be coming to the school level, just not the principal or just the AP, but we're looking for a team to come up with different content leaders so we can be able to support the practice and the course sequencing that's actually happening in the schools, and to also talk about where the additional supports that may be needed, whether it's more intervention support in particular areas or more accelerated support to begin to push the work forward. So that will actually begin starting this month to be able to do that work. Last but not least, I just wanted to go ahead and just highlight just a few more things. We've been doing such a great job around making sure that we're continuing to push the performing arts, also providing more opportunity around children getting not only acceleration, but also the opportunities, as I've been talking to Dr. Robinson and Dr. Lashley and Dr. Williams and then Stacey Dupree and Andrea and the whole team, as we've been collectively talking about what are ways that we can continue to help our school district get better, is what are the ways that we can continue to build community across our school system. See, at times, sometimes our schools are not always connected together within communities, and so we have to figure out how to help do much more engagement around community work together. One of the things that we've tried to push a lot was to go out to the community to engage with folks that are within our community. Whether you are in a school that's a very selective school, you should be attending community events and doing work together. Or if you're a school that's a neighborhood school, you should be doing that work. We want to make sure that the community knows that we do not see ourselves only as being in the school or just in the classroom, but also a part of the everyday constant work of that community. As many of you know, we have many teachers, principals, and many folks who live in our parish, and that's a beautiful thing. I've worked in school districts where in 3/4 of the school system, although they've worked in the district, they did not live there. And so because we live in our community, we live here, it helps us to connect more and to have our ears on the ground to hear what's going on and how to support our work and support students in what we do every single day. Another last part is we've been talking a lot about was how do we make sure we can continue with our upgrades with our buildings and our staff, not only just with cleaning, but also with how we provide customer service. In our marker that we have, if you look at our strategic plan, we talk about 4 areas constantly. One is operational excellence, academic performance, employee development, and most importantly, customer service. And we believe if we can connect with all those 4 as we're measuring our progress, we can be able to help our district accelerate and advance through a lot of the things that we're going through. Last, I just want to share a little bit as we keep going through our COVID time with mitigating through COVID. During the month of January, I'm going to make a few more additional safety precautions, and the school leaders and coaches will be receiving or should have already received a memo that states just around what we're going to look at in terms of sports. While there's a surge under COVID, it will be difficult for us to be in large crowds or large events. So we're going to really hunker down on making sure so we can be able to get through and mitigate that not many people get sick during this time, is to kind of limit us being in enclosed spaces and seeing how we can either provide more virtual opportunities or be able to do small group meetings where we spread people out a lot. This has always been a very big challenge for us, not only the work that you guys are doing, but even for us here, trying to think about what are the ways to bring people back in ways that the learning could be meaningful for them. And so we're really going to be trying our best to do a much, much better job in that space. Last thing I'll leave you with is with this. We believe in all the work should be grounded in what we call our 4 C's. Remember that we talked about those 4 C's. It's important that we always provide clarity, consistency, coherence, and communication. I know that during these times, it sometimes has been a little bit more challenging than others for us to do the best job in those things. And COVID has challenged us in many ways to do that. But we're going to continue to do work. I tell folks everything we do is a work in progress. Our system is not perfect, and no system is, no matter what parish that you go to. But over time, with progress and continuous improvement, things get a lot better. Things that we're super excited about is our Student Advisory Council. We've been meeting over and the full year where we've been meeting with a lot of students who've been giving us feedback on a lot of the work that we've been doing. We've been excited about that. That's the first time our district has had a Student Advisory Council, and those students are really always excited about things, and they've talked about a cause that they'd like to do, whether it's supporting decreasing bullying or social media monitoring of that. So I'll share a little bit more with you and the public when the students are ready for that. And then last, I would say, is which I will always continue to talk about is, I've learned since I've arrived in Baton Rouge that Baton Rouge is not 6 degrees of separation, but 1. It is always important that us as a community, we continue to talk about not what we're always concerned about with the district, but also what are the good things that are happening. Sometimes you would hear more about things that people are either not or upset about or don't like a particular decision, more about that than we do about all the great work that you all are doing. I always tell folks that highlighting your great work is just as important as doing your great work, because it talks about all of the effort, the time, the skills that you bring to our school system to do this work together. As I always say, my push all the time is to do the best that I can as a superintendent to help the village work together with all its diverse thinking to be able to move in a consensus direction. We're never always going to get everybody to agree, but what we can agree on is we all want the best for our children. And there's nothing like when the entire team is moving in one direction. And we believe that right now we're moving in the right direction, and results of our work that we are doing are going to have great results at the end of this year. And so we're just going to continue to be excited about that. Please feel free to always connect with us, send emails. We try our best to be as responsive as possible. And more importantly, one of the things I know that takes time is that we want to always continue to create a culture of connecting with people. And a part of that connection helps us to feel more as a family, because we are all responsible for each other in terms of our work. Because when people talk about what we do as EBR, they talk about us as a collective. And so it's important that we as a collective continue to stick together in that work. Well, I think I've said enough words for today. I'm super excited. I hope that you get a lot out of professional development. I know you have to log on to Frontline and those things, and I'm sorry that we all could not be together because of the whole COVID situation currently. But over time, I know we'll continue to connect. We'll continue to do what we do. Just want to give you a big shout out for everything you do. And if I don't tell you enough, or if nobody tells you enough, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for being committed to our system. Thank you for being committed to an urban district. To me, urban districts are characteristics of where you have people from all backgrounds, all genders, all races, all religions, all people coming together to help their city become vibrant. Not everybody wants to take on coming to districts like ours, but we believe as a school district, we are doing the right thing, and we will be one of the best districts in the state of Louisiana. And I just appreciate you being a part of that. If there's anything I can do, please do not hesitate to connect with me or our team, and we're hopeful that we can continue to make progress, because hashtag, as I tell everybody all the time, we are EBR. Thank you.